What's going on, SixPackAbs.com? It's Thomas DeLauer, your lead nutritionist and also the author of the science-based six-pack program, which you can find below. Today, I want to talk a little bit about your diet as it pertains to recovering from holiday binges. Now, this doesn't just apply for the holidays. This applies for a binge in the first place. Now, you might know my take on cheat meals in the first place. I don't recommend planning a cheat meal. I think it instills the wrong kind of behavior in the mind. But it doesn't change the fact that every once in a while we're going to go off the rails, especially when it comes down to the holidays. You might just overindulge in the cookies. You might go to a holiday party and just eat not as clean as you had expected to. So what I have for you here is basically your suitcase, your arsenal of things that you can use to recover from those binges. And it's pretty darn simple. So I'm going to give you the 4-step equation. The first thing I want you to consider doing is consuming apple cider vinegar. You see, apple cider vinegar does a lot of things in the body, and I've talked about it in so many videos. There's probably dozens of them out there. But the main thing I want to focus on as it pertains to a cheat meal is the fact that it contains very specific polyphenols that act as a prebiotic in the body. What does that mean exactly? Well, a prebiotic is like fertilizer for your existing bacteria in the gut. We're talking about the Lactobacillus, we're talking about the Bifidus, we're talking about all of these bacteria that actually help the body break down food. So apple cider vinegar is going to increase those bacteria that already exist, allowing you to digest that food a little bit better so that you don't get the bloating effect. But there's some other interesting science that goes beyond just the bloating. In a study that was published in the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry, they found that test subjects that consumed just a small amount of acetic acid, which comes from apple cider vinegar, after consuming meals, ended up having 10% less fat accumulation than those that didn't consume the apple cider vinegar. Pretty straightforward and pretty simple. The fact that you can just implement a little bit of apple cider vinegar and you're going to mitigate the risk is pretty darn powerful. Now, apple cider vinegar does a couple other things, but we think that the main reason that it ultimately halts that fat accumulation has to do with the fact that it slows down carbohydrate metabolism. You see, that acetic acid inactivates certain enzymes that would normally break down carbs in the body. Normally, we want to break down carbs, okay? We want the body to break it down, turn it into glucose so we can use it. But in this particular instance, we want to slow down the absorption of the carbs. So by deactivating the enzymes, our body doesn't break down the carbohydrates. It passes through the small intestine and the large intestine, and ultimately we excrete it without it ever having an impact on our blood sugar. That's probably the main reason why you don't gain as much fat when you're implementing apple cider vinegar. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is implementing full body workouts. Now, full body workouts, I'm a huge fan of in the first place. I just think they're a better workout. But when it comes down to recovering from a cheat meal or recovering from a holiday binge, it's very impactful, mainly because it mobilizes lymph. Most trainers online are going to tell you, oh, it's just burning up extra glycogen, so you're going to burn up all those extra carbs you ate. That's like 10% of the equation. That's fine and dandy, but that's fitness industry bluff, to be completely honest. Let's talk about how it works with the lymph system. See, the lymph actually mobilizes fat. Our lymph system is sort of like our circulatory system, except it doesn't have a heart. So it's moving our lymphatic fluid and it's moving our immune system essentially through our body, allowing ourselves to flush out the toxins and allowing our cells to be bathed in nutrients. Basically, that lymphatic fluid is the end-all be-all when it comes down to our immune system, our ability to recover, and our ability to mobilize fat. But a lot of people don't realize that fat doesn't really travel through the bloodstream. It does, but in smaller amounts. It mostly travels through the lymph system. And the lymph system delivers the fat to the liver so it can be metabolized and ultimately digested and excreted or burned. So why would we want to just focus on working one particular body part when we can mobilize this lymphatic fluid by doing lower body, then upper body, then more lower body, and going back and forth? We're moving the lymph, we're moving the fat so it can get to the liver and actually be digested and excreted and essentially burned. So that's the big reason why you want to be focusing on the full body workouts. So all you have to do is simply go in and do a lower body exercise, then an upper body exercise, back to a lower body exercise, back to an upper body exercise. You can still implement bodybuilding principles if you wanted to. In fact, this is something that I do talk about a lot in the science-based six-pack program because I'm a huge fan of those full body movements. Anyway, let's get on to the next thing that you can do when it comes down to a holiday binge. This one's going to be implementing green tea extract. You can drink a lot of green tea, but I'm a big fan of just getting the extract straight from the source. See, the reason that green tea extract has such a big impact is because it increases what's known as thermogenesis. Now, it's a term that we hear a lot by the supplement companies. They throw it around because it sounds fancy. But basically, all it's doing is it's stimulating your body to produce more norepinephrine and epinephrine, these catecholamines that trigger the heart rate to increase, but also trigger the central nervous system to fire off more fat-burning mechanisms. You see, once those catecholamines are released into the synaptic cleft, our body goes into this hyper overdrive where it can actually start burning fat as a source of fuel. So green tea extract does that quite explicitly. Now let's take a look at some research to back this up. And this one's going to completely blow your mind because it is absolutely earth-shattering and hard, straight facts. Published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, this was a crossover design study. So we had two groups. There was one group that performed 30 minutes of cycling at 60% of their maximum O2 capacity. Okay, they did this before and after consuming green tea extract, so it was a lot of cardio. The other group, they had to do the same thing, except they also implemented glucose directly before the workout and directly after. Basically what they wanted to look at was, does glucose actually affect the impact of green tea extract? Both groups, they gave 3 caps of green tea extract to over a course of 24 hours. Okay, so both groups got green tea extract. One group had glucose, one group did not. They both exercised. Well, here's what they found. Both groups, whether there was glucose involved or not, ended up having a 17% increase in fat oxidation. Yes, a 17% increase in fat burning. And this is published in a darn big journal, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. So take that for straight facts. Green tea extract is probably one of the most powerful compounds that you can put in your body when it comes down to recovering from a binge meal. Now, the last thing I want to instruct you to do is to test out some intermittent fasting. I don't need to go into a lot of detail with this because I talk about it in so many other videos, but if you were to just go on a prolonged fast for maybe 18 to 24 hours after your meal, you're going to find that you end up burning a lot more body fat. There are countless studies that show stored fuel ends up being used when you're fasting. So no better way to just recover than to just go into a fasting period. Why do we have to overcomplicate things? As always, Six Pack Abs is here to bring you the best content when it comes down to nutrition, when it comes down to fitness, when it comes down to being the best version of you. So keep it locked in here, and I'll see you in the next video.